What if Blast Burn, Hydro Cannon, and Frenzy Plant were all in Gen 1 OU? Signature moves for starters, and right off the bat, I'll just tell you, this is not going to be a very long video, because if we just look at these three Pokemon, the ones that already aren't very good in OU, minus maybe one of them, does an Elemental Hyper Beam really help them? For Charizard and Blastoise, no, not at all. Do not use Charizard in OU, but even if you are, the bare minimum is just not even using Blast Burn. You're better off with Sword Stance, and then Earthquake, Hyper Beam, and then probably Slash, not even Fire Spin. And even then, you're going to be struggling a lot. But you know what? Maybe it's not the worst thing in the world, because yeah, Blastoise, what the heck does Blastoise even do in OU? And Hydro Cannon is not going to help it, because what are you hitting super effectively? Right on? That's it? And then what else do you got? Exeggutor and Starmie resisting, having to recharge? That doesn't sound good. You can hit Tauros and Snorlax for good damage, but yeah, just no. The only one that would maybe use it would be Venusaur, and that's because now with Growth, Frenzy Plant is your only grass move you can actually use, since Razor Leaf is an auto crit. But even here, you got better options. Venusaur is the only one that's kinda used in OU, and that's with Sword Stance and Sweet Powder. You don't really have any room for Growth and Frenzy Plant, especially when both can just be replaced with Razor Leaf, and you're trading just a little bit of power for, consistency in only one move slot. So if we just ended it there, this would be a pretty boring and short video. But I decided, what if we distribute it? So let's give Blast Burn the Moltres, Hydro Cannon the Starmie, and Frenzy Plant to Exeggutor. Now this is much more interesting. And for all of these, they have their own strengths and weaknesses. Unfortunately, unlike my other videos, I don't have a lot of replays to show off with these. And to be honest, I don't really think I really need to. Because I think just with the pre-analysis, you can get a good gist on how good these would be. Although luckily, I do have 3 games where I kind of tried to test them out with other people. As I'm going to warn you, the plays you're going to see are kind of bad. And that's because I wasn't playing optimally, and I was playing a team where I put all 3 of them in. And I honestly don't think that's a good idea. Starmie and Exeggutor are good Pokemon, but I don't think Frenzy Plant and Hydro Cannon are auto-includes. Moltres, maybe. For Moltres, its Fire Blast, along with Articuno's Blizzard, were already the strongest attacks. And technically, I guess Blast Burn wouldn't change that, because it's only counting for non-boosted attacks and moves that aren't Hyper Beam or Explosion. Blast Burn is basically the same, since if you don't kill with it, you need a recharge. But at the same time, I think it can still count, because what would be the alternative? Snorlax with Hyper Beam? I'm pretty sure Moltres' Blast Burn is stronger than that. So, we could technically say Moltres has the strongest attack now, that isn't boosted. And, let's be fair, when it comes to Moltres in OU, it's already trying to go for agility, Fire Spin, and to a KO range with Hyper Beam anyways, so I don't think this will be too much different. Granted, Fire Blast has a 30% chance to burn, and you can spam it. Blast Burn, if you don't kill with it, you need a recharge. But at the same time, 85 accuracy is not the best. And while Blast Burn isn't completely accurate, 90 accuracy is a lot more, manageable. And while the burn chance is good, it's also a double-edged sword, since just as easily you can burn things like Starmie, which you don't want. So, you could debate me in the comments if you want, but I think Blast Burn is better than Fire Blast on Moltres. You just have to be more careful with damage ranges, and you can't spam it. Which, to be fair, you're kind of already doing that anyways with Hyper Beam. So, yeah, I think that's pretty even. Now, Starmie. This would technically be a pretty powerful attack. It would, you know, basically be a special Hyper Beam, since Starmie has 100 special. But between the three, not counting the starters, it's probably the worst. So bad, but the 3 replays you're going to see, I don't think I actually use Hydro Cannon that much. And that's because you just don't have too many good opportunities with it. Starmie has far better things it can be doing. For example, it's by far the best sweep sack in the game. But if it's not a sweep sack, you have Bolt Beam coverage, you have Surf just for more spammability. A lot of good things you can use. But with Hydro Cannon, it's a lot of power, sure, but you can't spam it. Meaning that unlike other Starmie, you are essentially only using a single attack, which I think is a massive turnoff. The power isn't worth it, and in the late game, you're probably going to crit with Surf anyways, if you really need Water Stab. But if you need Stab, Psychic is right there. So, honestly, I wouldn't bother. Maybe if you want to use a more offensive team, but I just don't think it's worth it. Now, the last one is probably the most interesting, because Exeggutor can finally get a decent grass move. Mega Drain's already been starting to see use, but to be fair, I think the healing is part of the reason for that. But still, having a real grass type attack is pretty good, and I think a big difference between Starmie and... oh, yeah, sorry about that. The servers are currently resetting. But yeah, I think a big difference between Starmie and Exeggutor is the fact that Exeggutor only has Psychic as the one attacking move usually anyways. You see a lot of times where it's Psychic, and then Sweet Powder, Stun Spore, and Explosion. So, if you use an Exeggutor and you're only using Psychic and Sweet Powder, it's not too different from how many other Exeggutors are played. There's plenty that only have the single attacking move. So, honestly, yeah. Having a slot where you can just have a super powerful, like, a grass type attack with 125 special, that's pretty good. What's even better is that Psychic kind of helps you get better ranges with Frenzy Plant, considering it's a special drop. So against Alakazam, for example, you can threaten to lower Zam's special and then hit with a very devastating Frenzy Plant. And yes, sometimes you won't get the kill and you'll have to recharge, and you may die, but also you do that a lot with Explosion anyways. So as long as it does have recovery, like let's say Chansey, and I think only Chansey, Frenzy Plant is going to do a lot of damage. Because you can't have Starmie be hit with it. That's just going to kill it. And anything else with good recovery is... yeah, no, like even Alakazam, even if it does have a lowered special, it's going to take a lot of damage. Do I think it's better than Moltres with Blast Burn? I think on individual sets, probably not. But in general, Exeggutor probably benefits the most. But even then, I don't think it's going to be an auto-include. In fact, even though the power is significantly lower, Mega Drain still might be a usable option, since it's both spammable, and you gain HP with it. But all in all, these are pretty interesting attacks, and it's worth considering. Now, I'm gonna warn you again, these plays you're gonna see are really, really bad. And for this one in particular, it's just kind of funny, just how badly this one Jinx ruins this team. Now, while this goes on, I just want to say that, like I always say for my videos, like a lot of times these videos are not simulations. especially for this one, I was not trying to play the most optimal as I can. Although, I'm kind of glad because got to see some funny things. Like, you see there, Blastburn with a crit did half the Starmie. That's honestly pretty good. And, well, obviously you can't depend on it. It's just one of those nuanced things that you kind of have to respect. Otherwise, you could be seriously punished. Kind of like how I got seriously punished. Because, like, look at that. That is... Yeesh. Starmie didn't even get a chance to use Hydro Cannon. Just the one Jinx that's completely soloed all of the Pokemon. Yeah, so using the elemental attacks does not work well against Jinx. Because all of them still have the same problems. Starmie gets walled by Chansey. Exeggutor is weak to ice, and Moltres does not resist and is also weak to ice. Like, I'll be real, I probably should have just made individual replays like I usually do, but not only has it been getting pretty late, and at the time of recording this, I have my sister and both of my nieces with me, so I'm usually spending most of the day spending time with them instead. But also, they're just kind of funny. Like, I swear, I don't usually play this bad. And if you look at my channel, you will see multiple seasons worth of Generation Jumble, which are Gen 1 OU tournaments. So there is proof on this channel of me having good and bad plays. But if you still don't believe that, I'd like to remind you all that we are hosting a tournament soon. It's going to be Pokemon Infinite Fusion. I'm going to have a full-on video first, where I'm going to put all of the Kanto Pokemon and Kanto-like Pokemon, like Steelix, in a tier list. And I'm going to go over my thoughts on how good I think they'll be for the tournament, and how good they are in a format where it's just kind of them. So hopefully that'll give you a better idea, but the tournament will be open to all people, including you watching this video. I'm going to have a forum, and all you need to do is just want to make the video. You can click on it, and you just need to be in the server. Because we're playing as a Pokeathlon, which is a free browser, just like Pokemon Showdown. So if you played Pokemon Showdown, you can also play Infinite Fusion. And I promise you, it's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, this replay also went pretty bad. And luckily for this last one, it's actually like a real game. Not one where I played perfectly, because a part of me still wanted to kind of spam the moves, but I did better. And here's Starmie being a sweep sack, so like, I guess when Starmie's asleep, it's not really hurting Hydro Cannon or giving it a good justification to be there. It's a pretty big neutral. And also, like, Riscata pointed this out at the end of this, but I think to be fair, when it comes to these replays, the ones with Riscado, the team he was using does kind of hard counter these elemental hyper beams. Zapdos is a flying type, so it resists Frenzy Plants, and has super effective coverage against Exeggutor, Starmie, and Moltres. So it's actually really rough. And Rhydon obviously hardwalls Moltres as well. And it's not like the extra power really helps you out. So, yeah. Like, maybe I could have just done more, but at the same time, like, how do you even do a replay where you haven't used Hyper Beams? It's either the replay you one-shot or you don't. And does that sound interesting to you? I don't think it does. So I still think showing these games, even though I'm playing like I'm a noob, I think it's probably better for the viewer enjoyment anyways. At the very least, I'm sure most of you guys who, or not most of you, but at least like 3 of the people who are in my server and playing the tournament are going to roast me. I know Zashi was already roasting me, which is kind of a funny thing to say when Blastburn goes right on, but yeah. You're going to see in a little bit, but the Moltres is going to crit with Blastburn. And what's interesting is that a critical hit with Blastburn doing more damage than Fire Blast actually is kind of relevant sometimes. It's enough to 2-shot Chansey while Fire Blast isn't, which is again one of the tiny nuance things. Not a big deal, but still, Like, I can kind of appreciate that. Not sure I can appreciate Fire Spin missing twice in a row. This is just another example of how Blast Burn doesn't really help any of the issues Chansey normally does. Or, did I say Chansey? I meant Moltres, but you know what I mean. Man, the game's already over. I'm already just not in the right place of mind. I am so sorry. I am a very, very professional YouTuber. And to prove it, you're gonna help me boost the algorithm by telling me in the comments that I'm a professional YouTuber. Let this be someone's first experience with me. And let them be like, dang, this content sucks. I never want to watch this again. Now, another reason I wanted to show this is because the ending, regardless of the elemental hyper beams, is actually pretty funny still. So, you'll see in a bit. But this Starmie's still going to go down. I wanted to kill with Moltres. And I just want to see how much Blast Burn did. And as you can see there, that I'd say was a pretty decent chunk. And yes, there is a bit of a misplay here. I go for the agility, and despite not going for a Fire Spin, it's probably what I should have done, but I went for Hyper Beam. Got the kill. I go on the Tauros. This is going to do a lot of damage. And with 3 Pokemon, I'm like, okay, this is going to be fine. I even crit the Body Slam, but then they crit the Body Slam. So suddenly it's up to a speed tie, which they win. I go in the Chansey, and I go to Paralyze. My thought process is I want to show off Hydro Cannon, so try to fish for a turn. But then Tauros kills the Chansey. I go into Starmie, and Starmie does not wake up in time. In fact, it's not even because it just didn't wake up. Another critical Body Slam. So yeah, that's pretty funny. This video is a bit of a disaster and kind of failure, but I thought the concept of the elemental hyper beams, I thought it was interesting at first, but in practice, I just don't think it's fun to make replays with. In my Generation Jumble tournaments, along with adding new Pokemon, we very often add moves. So this feels more like something that you would only experience there, for actual games, and not ones where you're obligated to put them on a team like I did. If you have Moltres, Exeggutor, or Starmie have those moves individually, you can have much better results, but forcing it like this can kind of lead to having serious problems with your team. Because with those 3 moves, I had 3 Pokemon that were basically using, I guess for Moltres, there's only 2. Yeah, I was just using a weaker Exeggutor and Starmie since they're less flexible. And if they had real moves, the battles could have gone differently. But who knows? Either way, I think it was worth to talk about. Thank you all for watching. Please join a Discord server if you'd like to participate in tournaments. And until next time, this is Groundback, and I look forward to hearing from you.